everybody, how's it going? My name is Melissa, and this is my channel, Geeky Witch, about all things cross-stitch in my life. Today is October 21st, 2024. It is a beautiful Monday morning here in Rhode Island, and it has been a very fun weekend. I'm on 5th day of my weekend, but today isn't really a vacation day. I'm kind of catching up on stuff, so... but I spent all weekend at the Stitch New England retreat and had a blast, and I wanted to recap that today, show you what I worked on, what I finished, what I showed of previous finishes, some stuff that I bought, some stuff from the Freebie Table, and I'll share some photos at the end. I'll kind of just do a slideshow to end off my FlossTube video today. I am a horrible photographer, so please don't judge me, because they're bad. I am not good at taking photos. But yeah, I wanted to show what went on a retreat. If you've never been to a retreat, this will give you kind of an idea. Stitch New England is the largest retreat I've ever attended, both last year and this year, and like any other stitching retreat, every retreat kind of has its own feel and its own vibe, its own, rhythm. Every single one is different. So if you are someone who's new to retreats, and this doesn't seem like something you'd be interested in, take a look at others, because some of them are super small, a little more intimate. Some of them are more like this one, where it almost feels more convention-y. Some of them have classes, some of them don't. But, if you've never been to one, maybe this gives you an idea of what happens at retreats. And I encourage you, seriously, go. Try one. It doesn't have to be as big as Stitch New England. Try a smaller one. But to be around the other cross-stitchers is just awesome. You kind of just get that, energy to keep going and energy to try new things. And you do have to hang on to your wallet a little bit, because it is enabling to the extreme. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so Stitch New England was 2.5 days. It was held this year at the Crown Plaza in Warwick, Rhode Island. New venue for it, but to be fair, this was only the second year of the Stitch New England retreat. It is going to be held there again next year, and I really liked the venue. Last year's was an older model, like Holiday Inn from the late 70s, early 80s. It was kind of run down, needed some work, whatever. The Crown Plaza is one of the big event hotels here in Rhode Island. They do a lot of weddings, a lot of gatherings, a lot of seminars, that kind of stuff. So they seem to have their stuff together. And from what I heard from folks who stayed at the hotel, the rooms were nice. They were like your mid-range rooms. I didn't really hear of any problems. I did not stay at the hotel because I only live about a 10-minute drive from the hotel, so it made no sense for me. But it seemed like things went smoothly, at least enough so that, hey, it's going to be there again next year. So if you are interested in going, keep an eye on the Stitch New England webpage. They'll announce when they open up the registration again for next year's retreat in October. Probably will be sometime after the new year. I think it opened up like the first week of the year this past year. But just keep an eye on their website. They have a system of how they do it with people who attended before, people who are new, whatnot. But chances are, you want to go to this retreat, you're going to have no problem coming to this retreat. So, all right. First off, I finished I Love New England. Yay! So let me back up here so you can see the whole thing. It is done. I'm so happy. This has been a labor of both love and frustration. with a long history. However, there's a bit of a qualifier and an asterisk in that. I started this back as a New Year's Day project in 2012. And then in July 2012, I discovered I was pregnant with my son. So it kind of went on the back burner, along with everything else in my life, for about 3 years. I had really been struggling to get, the border started, so I wasn't really enthused to pick it up. I had other stuff that I was a little more excited to start on. So this kind of lingered for a bit, and then I got back to it, and it started slowly but surely, and then all of a sudden I kind of got into a rhythm with it, and I got a ton done. So it seems like, oh my gosh, it took her 12 years to do this. It didn't. And I'm working on a bunch of stuff at a time, so it's probably, it really wasn't that bad of a project. I just didn't quite get into the zen with it. But yeah, it's done. I'm so happy. So this is on 32 count antique white. All of the floss is DMC. It's all the colors that were called for. I did make a couple of changes personally in the squares. So this one, I just changed it to be a solid heart as opposed to speckles. The speckle look didn't really do my thing for me. And then, let's see, what else did I do? This one is like it was. This is like it was. This one, I changed the color of the star because for some reason it was charted in the same green as the outside border. And I decided it should be in the same green as the other corners. And then instead of the speckles in the center of it, I decided that's where I was going to put my initial and the year to finish it off. So, but yeah, I'm happy. This will be framed, and then I plan on putting it into the Big E crafts competition next year. The Big E is our New England 6-state fair, and that's held at the last 2 weeks of September every year. And they put on a pretty decent craft exposition between some absolutely phenomenal quilts, a mix of all sorts of different stuff, and they have a decent little cross-stitch section. It always needs more stuff, so if you are in New England, hint, hint, wink, wink, put your cross-stitch stuff in the fair. It's like $5 to enter, and you get 2 free tickets to the fair, so you win just by entering. Anyway, so yes, that's going into the fair next year. I'm psyched because now I have plenty of time to get it framed and have it ready to go and get everything registered and entered by the beginning of next August. Yay! And I think this is my first finish of the year. I've done progress this year, but I really haven't gotten finishes. But I've been focusing on getting this done. So, yay! So happy that's done. Okay. Other stuff I worked on while I was there. I brought 2 other pieces with me. I decided to do kind of like a one everyday thing. One that I worked on but I don't have here is my friend Sharon's beach piece that I showed in my previous episode. It was a really cute little beach scene, and I just worked the sand across the bottom. All I did. I just decided to do the easy stitching on the bottom. But I have now passed that off to another woman in my stitching group that's local so that she can continue it so we can finish this project up for her daughter Kim, since Sharon passed away early last year. So that one of her projects is done by all of her friends, and it's kind of a memento to her. I'll find a picture of it, though. I think I took a picture once I was done. So if I have that, I'll add that on to the end of this video. Okay. Next piece I worked on is Silver Creek Samplers Flying Lesson. This I got 3 years ago now, I think. in one of the Halloween boxes from Black Needle Society, and it's super cute, isn't it? It was the first Silver Creek that I actually started stitching. And then, as I was stitching it, I discovered I had a counting error, which was throwing everything off. So I didn't get that much done on this. I am going to fix part of my mistake, but not everything. So, yeah. Let me fold this over. They gave me plenty of fabric, and as you can see, I never trim fabric down to what I actually need until the very end. I'm paranoid that way. What I need to do is bring Dawn over one freaking column. It's just overcounted, and wouldn't be that big of a deal, except that now this isn't lining up with this, and as I get all these stars and other things in, I'm just kind of worried that it's gonna throw the whole thing off. I don't know. I'm gonna sit on it and think about it. I might be overthinking it, to be perfectly honest, but I'm a little worried it's just going to throw that whole edge off. So, stopped where I was, took a pause, taking a breather, and I will get back to fixing it if it needs to be fixed, or tell myself to get over it and just keep going. Knowing me, it'll probably be the second one. But yeah, it's a super cute piece. This is on 18 count Aida. It is like, I love the Theta. It's so soft. The color is Hazelwood. It's from Fiber on a Whim. Like I said, this is 18 count. So super easy to stitch on. Pardon the needles sticking out because I'm lazy and my needles are always floating around everywhere. Yeah, and it's a mix of DMC, and I think there were a couple of overdyes in there, but it's pretty much all DMC. Super cute piece. Now I just got to figure out if I'm fixing it or not, or if I'm just going to let it go. One way or another, it's getting finished, but if I do fix it, I mean, really, the only things I need to do is just move Dawn over, and then I just need to pick this out. This guy is up by like a row, but there's a whole moon here, and it's not going to affect it, so I'm not going to pick that out. I'm honestly just worried about lining up the right hand edge. That's it. So anything else I can live with an error here or there. It's homemade. So there's that. And then the final piece that I worked on was Jade Band Sampler from iStitch Designs. I got a lot done on this on Saturday, considering, you know, it's the last day of the convention and people start slowing down with their stitching because they're getting tired because you've been stitching for 2 days straight. So, but I'm happy with what I got done. I've done all of this outline and these letters so far. I had debated doing a, to rechart it and put in that, you know, this was at Stitch New England 2024. I think what I'm going to do, though, is there is just a little bit of room right here, and I might just, in really small backstitch letters, I might put it underneath that, you know, I did this, started this cartouche at Stitch New England. It might be kind of a fun thing to add to this big, long, super long band sampler. I am on week 18 of 30 on this. And for those who haven't seen this thing completely from the beginning, let me unwind here because it goes for a little while. And you can see all the pretty. This is 27 count banding. Is kind of an odd count. I bought it straight from the Netherlands, and so I could stitch over 2 instead of over 1. I don't know why I was afraid of stitching over 1, but it was making me worried, and in retrospect I probably should have done the over 1 because this one's going to be about 6 feet long when it's done. It will be very impressive, though, to display it when I get it done. So we'll keep going back. And the flosses that are in this are all from one dyer on Etsy called Amaranth Designs. And it was just, shades of green. And since this was called the Jade Band Sampler, I was like, Jade has such fascinating shades of green in it. And I just thought that this was a great way to display this. So I'll just gently roll this up so you can see the weeks. Aside from the border, I am just free versing color. I do not have a plan for the color. I just grab one of the skeins from the mix and go, yeah, let's use that one next. Because I do intentionally want it to be kind of random and let it just be a fun mix that makes it look kind of natural, just like jade stones have that variation. And I think it's working really, really well. So I have 2 skeins that are reserved to run this border down so that the color in that, is the consistent skein. So I don't get like this super, super light yellowy green down the border. But everything else is just kind of I'll work this section in this. And I'm really happy with how this is turning out so far. It is definitely a huge piece, but it's coming out. Honestly, the patterning is coming out better than I'd hoped it would. So it's a lot of alphabets. So this was iStitch's band sampler from, I want to say 2021 again. Because it was one of those things I started during COVID, because we needed things to keep us occupied. And so I had quite a few starts during COVID. But yeah, so there's where I am. This was a piece I hoped to get done this year. I could do it if I really commit to it. I don't know if I'll quite get it done by the end of December, but we'll see. Maybe I will. One way or the other, it'll definitely be done by the end of next year. And then I will probably be... My mother has the length of wall space that she could hang this, so if she's interested, I'm going to let her have it on her wall. If it's not her style, then I'll probably put it under hurricane glass in like a, on a pillar with hurricane glass over it and just keep it scrolled. So, but yeah. So that was what I worked on this weekend. It was let me put you down, balance you on the pile here. Stay. It was a good weekend. I got a lot more stitching done than I thought I would. I met quite a few people, which was awesome. Which is honestly, for me, the whole point of going to retreats is seeing what other people are working on, see what people have finished, meeting people, chatting. And I caught up with a few people that I hadn't seen in a long time, which was great. And some people I met last year briefly. Hello, Bridgewater contingent. And some brand new folks that were in Rhode Island. I actually didn't have to leave Rhode Island to meet people from Rhode Island. It's a miracle. And hopefully, the nice thing is that this is how you meet friends and you get groups together and you get stitching meetups together. This is how it's done. I mean, yes, you've got the internet, but there's nothing like getting together and chatting and oohing and awing over everybody's work and getting inspired from what other folks are working on. So it was good. And yeah, I think I was at one of the quieter tables this year at the retreat. Next year I may have to go join a rowdier table just for the heck of it, at least for a little while, because I don't know, I feel like I need a little more rowdy. But it was kind of a weird year for me because I had to leave the retreat for Friday morning for an appointment, and I was a little off kilter, so yeah. But it was good. It was good. Went a little too fast. Retreats always do. And I'm looking forward till next year. So thank you, Pam. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for everybody who volunteered to help out for Stitch New England. You guys did a great job. It was a great fun time and awesome. Okay, so stuff I showed off on they have their version of the finishes table. They call it the ta-da table. And so I brought in one thing I finished a while ago and one thing that I finished last year. So for the while ago, I brought in my Floral bell pull. And this is by Teresa Wensler. I have to back up because it's really, really big. No, it's not framed yet. It has not been turned into a bell pull yet. I'm getting there. I'll get there eventually. So this is a piece that I adopted originally. I did not start it on my own. When I adopted it, it had most of this square done and a little bit of this done, but the border was kind of iffy. So I started by putting it in a round robin, and then I finished the rest of it. So I didn't do all of this work on my own, but I did a good chunk of it. Everything from here down is entirely me, and stuff up here is kind of a mix. But yes, that's definitely one of my more favorite pieces I have. This is your typical Wensler. There's blends everywhere. It's on even weave. It's 28 count even weave, I want to say. It's a really nice, thick even weave. I absolutely love the fabric this is on. It's like really nice to touch and feel. So here's that one. And then the other one that I showed off, I also, once I finished it, I put I Love New England out on the ta-da table. But the other one that I showed off from the very beginning of the retreat was my temperature tree. And this is by a seller on Etsy called Stitchin' Mommy. She has this one and a whole ton of other temperature stitches that she kind of develops one a year. I started this for 2020, and although I didn't finish it in 2020, all of the colors that I put on it were for Providence's temperatures that year. And if you don't know how this specific one works, each branch is a month, starting here with January and working around, and then every single leaf is a day. And you assign a DMC color to a temperature range of your choosing. She gives a few example charts to use based on, different climates, because we're all going to have a different temperature tree depending on your climate, and what works in one spot is not necessarily going to work in another spot. I used her temperate chart example and then threw in some other colors in there just to stretch the range a little bit, because New England, after all, can get quite warm, but also very cold. And I felt like it was just a little too limited for us. And the ironic thing is that by doing that, I only added like one stitch here on the hot range, but I did add quite a few down here on the cold because New England. But this is how Providence's temperatures in 2020 turned out. And I love how this tree came out. This is also going to get framed. Like I said, I finished this last year. So in theory, I could put this probably into the fair, because the Biggie has a 3-year range for you to finish something. So this technically would still qualify. This fabric is a very old silk weaver from when the original dyer was doing silk weaver. So I had this piece of fabric I probably got it in 2004, 2005, somewhere in that range. And it was a solo, and I loved that it looked so much like the sky. And it just looks like, a partly cloudy day. So that was the other one I showed. And there was gorgeous stuff on the finishing tables. Absolutely gorgeous things on the finishing tables. And that is what I took probably the most photos of. So you will see those at the end of the video, because, yeah. That's where, like, I love seeing what people do. And it was so varied. There were so many different styles of cross stitching, and which is what makes it fun, because we all have our own interests in stitching. We all have our own themes. We all have our preferences for fabric, and you get everybody's finishes together, and it is just gorgeous. I don't care if you're someone who is on 14 count Aida and you're a beginner. I don't care if you're someone who's like me, who is up in high counts, stitching on 40, 46, 56, whatever crazy counts we're deciding we're trying to torture ourselves with. They all look amazing. And especially, you get everybody's stuff in a group, it looks amazing. So, yes. Okay, so other stuff from the retreat. There were a few folks who popped around and left little goodies for people. So we got like cute little scissor tip protectors. This was from Diane in Saugus, Mass. We got protective nail files, which is always good when you're stitching, and also needle threaders, which I break them like crazy, so also definitely appreciated. This was from Michelle in Arizona. Her Instagram is AZ Hippie Stitcher. Floss cards, these were from Snickerdoodle Stitch. We got candies, lots of nibbles. This was from Tina in Islesboro, Maine. We have little stash bags. I didn't catch who this was from. I may have lost something, but whoever dropped these off at the table, thank you. I might have it here. It just might have gotten separated, but thank you. Tissues are always good. Chocolate is always good. Also handy, these didn't have a name on them, but lens wipes, which you never think to bring, but when you're using cheater glasses, always handy to have for stitching. You'll see this later in the finishes. This is a gigantic Heaven and Earth that was finished at the retreat. And when I mean gigantic, it was like 3 by almost 4 feet in size. Absolutely insane. This is from Lydia's Leisurely Stitching. Here, you can scan, because if you hold your phone up to that, you'll be able to actually use it. There you go. We have from Two Cross Stitchers, floss card hoop. Always, these rings are handy to have. And another one here from Sin City Cross Stitcher with her Welcome to Las Vegas. You gotta love it. She also has a scan bar, so let me hold that up. There we go. Okay. These actually might have been with the tissues and chocolates, but okay. So we have Amy at Zippy Zax and Katie from Wingless Stitches, who had cute cards. Always handy to have floss cards. I gave out some of mine as well, and thank you for those who took them. Partially because I've had those since last year's retreat, and I would like to get a new version made. I probably will get my I Love New England ones for my next set of floss cards. But they're a fun thing to pass around. And even if you don't have a FlossTube, if you're just like a stitcher and just want to keep in contact with other folks, it's an easy way to just like trade contact info. Get yourself some, they're just business cards from, you know, take your pick of where you get them from. Get yourself some business cards, put your email address on there, put your location, your contact info, and all you got to do is just, you know, put a couple of little things on the back. A lot of people just put floss brand and color on the back, so it makes it usable, but you have an instant, easy way to trade contact info at any retreat you go to. Super, super easy. So these were from Lynette at Homesteading on the home front. She got fancy and has them trimmed. I have to do that sometime. Well, 2 cross stitchers also gave out ones, and they were fancy like that too. And then someone did needle minders, but there's no name, so I don't know who did it. But thank you, because I actually used this over the weekend. And Luke's coming into the room. Everyone can say hi to Luke. So yeah, little gifties. So thank you everybody who passed them off. I'd come back to my table and I'm like, oh, someone left stuff. I put mine on the ta-da table for those who wanted them, because I don't know everybody who does want them and who doesn't want them. But maybe next year I'll make sure I have enough that I can walk around, because I mean, things like, you know, a ring with a few floss cards, everybody can use these things. They're handy, either at that retreat or when you're starting a new project. Super handy to have. Okay, so next thing was stuff I purchased. I had not done a lot of purchasing this year, and I haven't been up to Pam's Shop as much as I should. She will roll her eyes and go, yeah, you know, I'm in her monthly floss subscription, and then I'll like roll in after 4 or 5 months and pick up like a wad of floss, because she lives a whopping 25 minutes north, her shop, not her living, 25 minutes north of me, maybe 30 if traffic's a little weird through Providence, and it takes me forever to get up there. It's kind of pathetic, but it's really a time of day thing for me more than anything. Anyway, so I decided to allow myself to have a little fun, because she had some beautiful trunk shows for several designers, which was awesome. And I was like, I'm going to buy from the trunk shows, partially because I love the pieces and partially because I want to encourage, you know, these designers to keep sending her trunk shows because that gets her stuff to the shop. All right. So first off, I have from the Artsy Housewife, I bought 2 different patterns. I have Blue Moon and I have Glenda's Garden. Let me move that to the center. Artsy Housewife is one of the designers. I was introduced to her last year at Stitch New England. I love her style. I just really love how bold her style is. So the plan is, because I have no fear of stitching on weird fabrics, so I picked up the called for fabric for Glenda's Garden. And I am going to stitch both of them on that fabric. The change I'm going to make is I'm going to make these leaves, flowers, whichever you want to consider them, I'm going to change these to purples so that they stand off from the fabric. And here is the fabric. Oh good, it's actually showing up on the screen. I was a little worried it wouldn't. I tried to do a photo of it on my my cell phone and it came out totally wrong. So it's coming up pretty close to accurate here. So this is called Pumpkin King. It's from Atomic Ranch, and I bought it in 40 count linen. And so both of these are easily going to fit on here. On 40 count over 2, each of these is going to be roughly, they're a little different in size, but they're going to roughly be 7 by 9. inches in size, so not bad. But yeah, isn't that funky? And I have a nice old big cone of black DMC. I have my cone of doom. So that'll get a nice good workout out of these two pieces. And those will be going on the rapid start list for next year, which I'll talk about in a moment. So there's those two. Next, I had to buy this because I was just laughing and with oh honey, I am that mom. Dirty Annie's is a somewhat new to me designer. I was introduced last year in November at Stitchin' at the Farm. She has a sarcastic sense of humor that just speaks to me. And I do have a little thing for chickens. Someday in my life, I hope to have chickens, although my husband will probably not approve. But yeah, I'm planning on stitching this for myself. I'll probably put it on the fridge. This is one of those ones I probably could stitch for my mother, and she would absolutely love it too. And it doesn't look as that difficult of a stitch. It's really, it's 96 by 96 stitches. It's, you know, pretty cute little size. So there's that one. Next is Brown Fish Owl from Kathy Barrick. His face, oh my god, his face. It's just that, like, half disgusted, what? Why are you filming me? Look that my cats give me. And I just absolutely loved him. He just speaks to me. So he will be going, and I actually have the fabric. It's a 40 count parchment from Weeks. Let's see. They've got needlepoint silks and then DMC conversions on this, and he's a big boy. He's 147 wide by 223 high, so he will be a big project. I might want to get another project done before I get him going, because that's a whole lot of heavy stitching in there. But his face, I love his face. Okay. Stitchy Pros did, and actually let me pull that out. So the Retreat project this year is this absolutely adorable project from Stitchy Pros, A Beacon of Hope. And, you know, since we're in Rhode Island, you got to have lighthouses and everything. Super cute. The funny thing is that this lighthouse reminds me more of Harbor Light in Hilton Head, Rhode Island, than it does anything up here in New England. But that's okay, because for me that's even more of a tie, because I've gone to I went to Hilton Head all the time for summer vacation in my childhood. So it just gives me a little bit more of a little love thing. And my dad is now buried off the coast there, so it's almost like it takes on a couple of different meanings for me. So this will be going into my start list. But then when I was at her trunk show, Stitchy Pros had this, and I almost didn't get it, and I'm like, no, I absolutely have to get this. The idea of cardinals being the souls of our loved ones who have passed on coming to visit us is just one of those things that absolutely touches me. And I have a couple of mated pairs of cardinals in my yard that I see all the time, and this piece is just, I just absolutely loved it, so I had to go back to get it. And this will go in pretty quickly. I know it's kind of hard holiday-ish, but this is one I'd keep up all year round. It's cats. It's cats with horns. I had to. They call it the Night Guide cat. To me, it looks like something right out of Dungeons and Dragons, and yeah, that's a cat that's got some tood, doesn't it? And I love how bright those greens are, so this one's a fun one. And then finally, because I don't have enough patterns, we never all have enough patterns, I picked up 3 from Counting Puddles out of a series of, I want to say it had 5 or 6, But I got the more unusual ones, and I can always go and pick up the others at Pam's Shop later. We have the Snowflake Goat. We have the Snowflake Llama, because llamas. There's no other reason to justify that, right? And then we have the Snowflake Sheep. They're just so cute. I can't stand it. There was also a rabbit and I believe a squirrel. I don't think there were any others. And I don't know if this is a series that's continuing or if that's the series. They're all copyright 2024, so they're all new. But they're just so ridiculously cute. I can't stand it. I gotta do all of them. Because I need cute ornaments on my tree. So those were what I purchased. The project... Oops, I just dropped something off the other side of my desk. The Gifty Bag from Stitch New England came with said project that I showed you. And it's in a handy dandy project bag. Came with your packet of here's what's happening when, and the map of the hotel, which is very handy because this hotel goes on for a while. It's surprisingly big. I didn't even get over to this garden pavilion. I didn't even know that existed because I didn't look at the map because I stayed over in the retreat area. But yeah, it's a big hotel. So got that, and then some really pretty finishing chenille for our ornaments, along with this cute winder shaped like a lighthouse. It also had I'm not going to take them out because I will drop them, a little lighthouse charm and a 2024 dangle, which is always handy. These are the called for fancy floss for the retreat piece. So we have 4 pieces from Classic Color Works. The rest of the colors were DMC. So I can get those on my own. And then finally we got a handy dandy little set of snips that have the Stitch, because we can all read upside down, right? The Stitch New England logo on them. Very handy. So thank you, Pam. And then finally, there was, as there are at many retreats, the Freebie Table. So earlier this year, I had culled through a lot of my charts that either I had duplicates of or I knew I was just never ever going to stitch. I've been weeding out through my magazines, and they're all in a box, but there's a few things in there that I may try to sell before I donate them to a freebie table, only because I want to catch up a little bit on my credit card because of, the medical bills I've been having lately. I'm not in trouble. I just would like to get that extra boost. We're not GoFunding me, please. But so I haven't decided yet, but one way or another, it'll make it to the retreat next year for the freebie table. But I'm still working on stuff. So I decided to hold off on bringing mine this year. But I'm always a sucker for a freebie table. So this was the big find at the freebie table for me. And this is, I'm going to make sure I don't get the chart up here. Is it Little Pink Houses from Annie B's Folk Art. Isn't that cute? But wait. It had all of the floss. You know where this is going, right? And a partially finished project with it. So it's a new adoption, and I will finish this up. So whoever donated it to the Freebie Table, it has found a safe home. If it's yours, I would love to learn the history of it. Just, to have it on the sheet that I keep with all of my pieces that I stitch on. If you know the history of it, please tell me, because I would love to include that. So that was my big find. I also picked up a few charts, some by designers that I absolutely, I know the designer and love the work. So this is from Blue Ribbon Designs, Good Karma. I don't remember ever seeing this before. And, peacocks, how could you not? So this is from Belinda's wonderful mind. And then I found a couple by my friend Dawn. Oh, I know I found two. Where's the other one? Oh, I found two. I only pulled one out. But a morning sampler. I have a smaller morning sampler that Dawn did, but I also like this big one. So grabbed this. And then I'm a huge fan of ink circles, and there's something to be said for the slightly joking taking off on a twist of a long-time well-known piece called Dutch Beauty, which is a massive sampler, Dutch sampler. This is Dutch Beast, and there are some fun little motifs and twists on motifs in this piece. So I have that guy. Then I picked up a Queenstown sampler. This is Miria Bug. I wanted to say bag, but I think it's bug. Oh no, maybe it's Miria Bag. 1845. That I'll read the verse in a sec, but that's that pretty one. The verse on it is, "'Tis religion that can give sweetest pleasure while we live. 'Tis religion must supply solid comfort when we die." And, as you know, I am not of the devout Christian persuasion, so although many samplers are, this one is a little more generic, which so could fit for any religion. It is bug. Okay, Marry a Bug, 1845, is an English sampler. There are Quaker acorn trees along with Dutch potted flowers. Peacocks and squirrels are found on most Scottish samplers. There's a 3-story brick building with lawn and flowering fruit trees, all but with a cheerful border. So, very cute. And finally, and hopefully this doesn't glare too much because the bag is a little, well, I'll just open the bag. We'll solve that way. Drawn thread, the Sanctuary. And I love, absolutely love, so pretty. This one also has needlepoint silk, or you can do it in DMC. This is one I might actually try needlepoint silk on because it's just so dainty. So yeah, it was a good weekend of stitching and stashing and boosting the economy and catching up with friends that I've known for a long time, and friends I don't know quite as well, and new people that I hope will become friends over the years. It really is, it's a fun retreat. I look forward to it this year. I was counting the days. I think if you're someone who needs a more intimate experience, it might not be for you. But for those of us who are used to big cons and conventions for gaming and for fandom and all that kind of stuff, this is a big cross-stitch fandom retreat. It was about 250 people, I think, all said and done. And yeah, that sun is starting to get in my eyes. It was a great time, and I will definitely be there again. And I hope to see some of those who I didn't get to see this time. Maybe I'll get out of my shell a little bit more and come walk around next year. I really need to. I need to get up and just accept I'm not going to get a lot of stitching done, but it's time for me to be a little more social and get out there and say hi and introduce myself and meet more people. So yeah, it was a good time. I will share my slightly unexciting photos because, as I said before, I am a horrible photographer. I just awful. So I apologize for the quality of the photos, but enjoy what I have of the smalls exchanges, and I have like one scan of the room, but I'm short, so you don't see it all that well. And then the ta-da tables of finishing. I took my photos on Saturday, so if it was stuff that got placed on there on Sunday, I might not have your finishes on there. If you were at the retreat, I apologize. Sunday, Saturday, what I did mine on Friday. I keep thinking that the retreat ended on Sunday, and it didn't, because yesterday I was most definitely with my husband and my son. But yeah, it was a great weekend. I look forward to going again, and thank you for everyone who brought stuff to share with everybody else, and thank you again to Stitch New England and its volunteers for running a great convention. If there were issues, you definitely did not let it show, which is always my sign that things went well, or at least were able to be recovered well. Yeah, and then next month I will be going to Stitchin' at the Farm, which is held up in Troy, New Hampshire. That is a smaller convention. It is held by East Hill Farm. So if you go to the East Hill Farm website and call them, they are solidly booked. They do have a waiting list. It is one that if you want to go, I would get on the waiting list as soon as you can. They do have cancellations that come up, but they are very limited in space because it is simply by the number of rooms they have there at the farm. And that's just kind of how it goes. So, and they do a first people there. If you've been there before, you have first dibs on coming the following year. So it kind of is just, it winds up being people who haven't been able to make it happen, drop off the list, and the other people can go. But yeah, I will share that one when we get there. But I'm looking forward to that weekend too. It's my wonderful time of year of retreats. And my bank account will go, oh God, you have holiday shopping to do, don't you know? And I will be like, oops. But yeah, so it was a great weekend. I'm now recovering. Yesterday was a zombie. What's next for stitching for me is, now that I Love New England is done, I feel like my year is kind of freed up. It's like, oh, a weight's been lifted. I have a ornament I have to do for the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild exchange. I'm going to get started on that either tonight or tomorrow, and my hope is that I'll have that stitched by that first weekend in November so I can get that finished up. My deadline to mail it is the weekend after the Stitchin' at the Farm retreat weekend, so if I do run behind, I'm okay, but I really want to get that out and get it sent out before I go to the next retreat. Then for the rest of the year, it's kind of whatever I feel like stitching on. I'll probably do some more on Jade Band Sampler. I will probably just kind of pick up some pieces that I've been having fun with, and just have a relaxing end of the year stitching. And then starting in January, my plan is, because I turned 50 in January, and I'm like, this is getting real now. I have decided that I am turning 50. Life is now, I am officially a half century old. Life is too short. I am going to start whatever the heck I feel like starting this coming year and not do oh, I'll start that when. No, I'm just going to start it. It can get finished when, but I am going to enjoy stitching what I stitch. So, it's going to be a bit of a crazy start year for me next year. And I have a bunch of stuff that in my stash that I would love to start. I have a ton of stash that I need to use. So I am allowing myself to start anything, provided that I can kit up the majority of it from stash first. And then from there, if I need to buy like a couple skeins of something, whatever, I'll run up to Pam's Shop and I will pick it up. But I want to use stuff that I have first. And so that's my justification of being able to start what I want, because I'm using my stash. I am not putting myself on a restricted stitch from stash thing where I can't spend any money. That won't work. I'm not even going to bother trying because it won't work. But I want to use some of my stash that I've accumulated, especially since COVID, because it's a little out of control. I've heard a few other people who are turning 50 next year are kind of doing I'm starting stuff. So if you are of the Born in 1975 club and want to join in along with us, or maybe you're someone hitting other big marker birthday and you want to join in with us, or you just need an excuse to start a whole ton of projects and want to join in with us, let me know. Let me know what you're starting. We are not starting the same things. We are just having a good time. So, would love to know if anyone else wants to join me in this insanity next year. Please, so I don't feel completely left out. Please. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my plan. It's going to be a little more relaxed the rest of the year. I don't know why it's not focusing, by the way. I'm sorry that this kind of keeps coming out. It's like I think something's going on my webcam, which would annoy me. But anyway, that's where I'm at. So until next time, have a wonderful time stitching. I will try to update you in a couple of weeks. I won't show that ornament off before I mail it because it needs to be a surprise, but I will film it and then tack it on to a video in December. But I'll show you my plans for going up to the farm probably in a couple of weeks, and anything else I've been working on, and yeah, and that's it. So have a great rest of your week. Would love to hear from you. If I saw you while we were at the retreat and we just forgot to exchange info, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. And until then, take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.